Hi everybody. I was originally going to be doing some sewing videos, but I have a couple of clamshell boxes to do for a couple of design bindings, and so I thought that would give me a good opportunity to share some things that might be of help to you if you make boxes, which we all end up having to do at some point. So you make a box sequentially by building the inner shell around the book or the object that you're going to house. You cover that, then you build the outer shell to fit the inner shell, and then you build the case to hold everything together and glue it all, assemble it. So the first step is to measure for the baseboard and the three sides, which are, in this case, the head and the tail and the foredge of the book. So I've already done that. You need to leave a little air in your measurements so that the book doesn't fit too tight. In this case, it's better to be a little loose than a little tight, because a little tight isn't going to work at all. So this has been measured. It's by eye. We're not going to talk about 16ths or 32nds because everything varies. You got different thicknesses of covering material, different thicknesses of board. Not that that's a problem, but anyway. So this is, these are the pieces for the case. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flex the base so that it's concave, and when you put a weight on it, all the edges will be hopefully flat on the bench. I'm going to assemble this with PVA, and the other thing to be advised is that the walls in this style of box stand next to the base. They don't sit on the base. So the base is measured with your allowance for turn-ins and such. And in this case, I've actually made an allowance at the spine for a packing strip, which will go in at the very end. The other thing to be aware of is that the head and the tail boards are exactly the width of the shell, or the base. Now this is vertical. I've got this crosswise, so don't get confused there. And then the foredge board is long enough so that it overlaps the head and the tail. Okay, you can do it the other way too. I suspect there are people who do. I don't know that there's a strong argument either way, and if there is, yeah. And the easiest way to do this is on the board shear, so that you set the board shear once you've got your base squared up and cut to size. Then you can put that into the board shear with the head and the tail boards, run the back gauge up, make sure this is aligned at the front, and you've measured it exactly, and then you can cut this foredge board to height. Okay, so we've got these. I'm going to assemble this with PVA. This is actually a second attempt. The last one ended up giving people a tour of my bald spot, which is not something I'd wish on anybody. So that's why I'm doing it again, among other reasons. PVA brush. Now, because the board stands because the wall stands next to the base, you're going to want to run your adhesive just along this edge here. You're not going to put it on the bottom. You're going to put it along the bottom edge of the wall. And then I'm going to put adhesive here on the edge of where it connects, where it joins with the foredge board, because it's going to be adhered like that. Okay. All right, so let's do this. You want to be generous here because any glue that is pushed out of the joint will come up to the inside, and you can use that to make a nice fillet on the inside and strengthen the attachment a little bit. So again, don't forget this is not symmetrical, so you have to figure all that out. And lastly, the 4-edge board. Oops, that's a bit much, but again, there's worse things in this context. Okay, so there's our adhesive. Now, this is the thing that I'm not sure how many of you have come across. Doesn't seem to be a common tool, but I learned this from my own teachers. This is what used to be called, and maybe it still is, a framing jig. And it's a really very useful for assembling the walls on a clamshell. You'll note too, or you may or may not have noticed, I flex the wall so that it's coming this way, so that the center will press as the ends are pulled in by the corner blocks. So pull it like that. Drop that in. Line up the corner here. It's can be a little tricky. Get in there. And then this one. There we go. Pull those. Okay. If you've been using bricks or whatever to build your boxes, this is I'm not going to say it's an improvement, but it really does. I mean, it has its own idiosyncrasies. This guy is being a little cranky here, but overall it's a good way to be able to assemble a box. A shell, actually. Snug these guys up, and you can see that the adhesive is starting to, work its way up. So I'm going to press along here, along the base, hold this down because it'll pop up with my folder. There we go. Okay. I'm trying to keep my head out of the frame, so hopefully that's working this time. And then I can take a small folder, something with a kind of a fine tip. Okay. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this wall has come together pretty well up at the top. This one is being a little cranky, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and as I did before, I'm going to run a little bit more PVA in here. And then I'm just going to grab piece of tape. Just to kind of hold it. Okay. So that's the drill. The other thing that I didn't mention at the very beginning of this is that you may notice there's a piece of Mylar here. Because I basically faced my bench with binder's board, I couldn't just build this right onto the binder's board, otherwise it's just going to stick. So I've gotten into the habit of using a piece of Mylar to work on. And the other advantage to this is once this is dry, you just slide the whole thing off and you peel the Mylar away from the base of the shell. Makes things really, again, expeditious, for lack of a better term. So this is an inner shell that's made. The other one that I made prior and had to do a little bit of mending on, because nothing ever goes the way you want it to, or seldom. There's, okay, so there's the other inner shell. I will sand this before I do the covering. That's how I cut and assemble an inner clamshell box, tray, or shell. Next step will be covering, and I will do that in the next. I'll make a video when I do that. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, as always, please put them in the comments, and I'd be glad to answer any questions or comments. And thanks very much for looking at this. Thanks very much for people who subscribe. And I will see you all soon. Thanks a lot. Take care.